All right. Hello, everyone. I am your host, John Rayon, and my guest today on the Always Direct podcast is Stephanie Emrich. She has just got done doing TEDx Lakeshore Drive Talk. Stephanie thrives on speaking, consulting, and educating consumer service. Since 2010, her consulting firm, Service Speak Solutions, designs and delivers customer experience, culture, and branding to a wide variety of industries. With her Be My Guest mantra, she has founded the National Customer Service Association. And then during this pandemic, she co-created a 3D training tool that's adaptable to virtual learning environments. And if all of that wasn't enough, she's also been a college professor for over 20 years. And I'm very excited to have her on the podcast and pick her brain. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure, John. I'm not supposed to say you're welcome because it's my absolute enduring, deep, and exquisite pleasure.
Awesome. So Stephanie, tell me about what your company does. I mean, you're obviously a college professor. What kind of professor are you?
Well, I'd like to think an engaging one and fun-loving. But what I teach, or what the guidebook or the syllabus reads, is everything from hospitality management to leadership, business etiquette, and at the core is the exploration of hospitality, which I re-authored and designed the new coursework and 3 different iterations for 3 different colleges.
Wow. And your company, which is is also a Service Speaks consulting company, servicespeaksolutions.com. That company is that your main business, or is your being a professor your main business, or is it 50-50, or how do you split your time up?
Well, I get 110% out of anything. So the math, I had to reconfigure the math one day. It's not a 50-50 because of the way I think if you're doing anything well, you're all in. What has been really a great joy, John, is to get both sides connected and interweaving personalities, life, and making sure I'm grounded in the everydayness of what I'm doing and not running. I never want to feel rushed. So I try not to have my guests or those I'm serving or consulting with feel like we got to cram all this in. And if we didn't learn anything in the pandemic, and you might be asking about that, I'm not sure, but we've learned to pace where we are and to study how we're being heard. And I think the 50-50 might come into play, but Service Speaks is clearly at the forefront. Thank you for acknowledging it's 10 years in business. Basically, we elevate through the message of service. We let service speak. I didn't have a big focus group to help understand the name of my company. I walked in our home after a very speedy walk one day. I looked at our dog and I said, well, Holly, what do we do? And the answer was so clear. It's letting the message of service speak, and that's it. It's very simple. And the solutions part helps our customers understand that it's not just a keynote speech, that it is a process and it is learning, and it's not one and done.
So what does your company do? What does Service Speaks actually do? I mean, are you a school, an educational? You're an education company, but do you actually go out to businesses, or do they come to you, or is it all virtual? Is it pre-recorded? How does it work?
Sure, it's been a hybrid, and I'm feeling so lucky that last March I didn't have to change a whole lot. Right. I feel like I can help maybe like yourself. I feel like I've helped other businesses because I was already grounded and in this process, that it was an invitation to let other people find their stair step and get educated. So certainly at the core is education, but we really help organizations see their value in customer experience. If it's a wine company or a car dealership or a government, or you're in the Middle East, or you're in Arlington Heights, whatever it is, it's about people and listening to how our customers feel about us, how they really, really deeply feel about us. Their customers asking hard questions, not just 1 to 10 on a survey, but really choring into the minutia. How do you feel about all of this? And letting social media be the value. It was a hard day once I asked a CEO how much of their business is to the Latinx market. And they said, I'm not really sure. And I did my homework, and it was over 50% of the people they were serving were Spanish speaking. So I went to their website and I said, Mr. CEO, would it be helpful if you had Spanish on your website? And it's so basic to me. They had never thought of this, and it was an easy fix. Translation skills are now widely available. So getting people to think about what's important to their customers is what we do. We do workshop training. When we worked for Navy Pier, we were out there on the front line working with all the visitor service experience makers. They're lined up all over Navy Pier. We were part of the reimagination of the pier, very exciting. And we got to understand what it felt like to be a guest at Navy Pier. You park your car, and then what? It's overwhelming. You need a compass, right? And you need guideposts and people that know that you have been jet lagging, or that you got 3 cranky kids, or a cranky spouse, or grandma's like, it's overheated, or everybody's doing everything. And they don't really know a certain name they don't know who Harry Carey's is. They just heard they should go there to eat.
Right.
And so I think unraveling all of that through, and behind me, I have 2 images that I thought might be helpful. It's busy behind me. I'm usually more simple, but the 7 elements of service on this side are what we use as a baseline: authenticity, intuition, delight, deliver, to certify people and become a certified guest service professional. And we have a 99% success rate in certifying our participants to become certified in customer service.
How long is that process?
Well, it can be very swift. It can be 2.5 hours. We come in, we say, produce, and we have this fabulous interactive session where we break out each of those. So if I were to take your company and I would say, John, I would do a bit of interviewing with you. We have a client in March who's really game for understanding. He doesn't have any extra time, but he's willing to invest in the service that their banner says that they provide. And they approached us a month ago and said, how about you? And I said, tell me about how much you rely on intuition. So we will take one of the 7 elements and measure how much they really use intuition as part of their service delivery. And then in the 2.5 hours, we go after it. We understand what each layer of service can be, and service recovery, because now we're all challenged by getting people to follow certain protocols and mask wearing, or whatever the CDC alignment is. And then after that, we've been engaged to go further, where for the next 7 weeks, we'll take one of the 7 elements and process it further. Because you can learn a lot in 2.5 hours, but you can't get to everything. You can't learn. The C-suite wants one thing. They want me to go and fix people, and they might be part of the challenge. It's a hard conversation to have with the C-suite and the CIO, who she says, I'm the chief information officer. How can you change the value that we have in our social media outputs? So I love it. There's a big script, but it's always willing, and I'm always willing to be agile enough. I just never could follow too many rules about what other people need. Yeah. So we ask good and hard questions.
Yeah, that's asking great questions is the foundation for a lot of, just finding the truth of what's happening is just asking the right questions most of the time to get the keys, right?
You're in. Thank you for letting me expound on what we do. I greatly appreciate that. And I love a good keynote speech. I can do a half an hour and I can go for days. So the gift of gab.
Hey, you know what? It's a very important tool in this world, isn't it? The gift of gab.
It is getting people to speak and also being able to listen. Oh, I love interviews. I was so excited for today with you. I
Me
couldn't
too.
wait because it gets you to think about. Well, thank you for that, because you're the vibrant soul who attracts us, we who are out in the doing, and you have that big chair to say, who's out there that I can get inside their heads.
You know what? Well, a couple of things. The reason why I wanted you to be on the podcast, which is going to be on YouTube, it's going to be on LinkedIn, and I'll send you all the clips when it's done, is because I'm in the restaurant business. And I have a marketing company, and I'm in the restaurant service business. Okay, pizzerias. I don't know if you knew that or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sounds delicious right now.
I'm a little hungry myself. But the reason why I mention it is because I'm not going to mention which location I called, and I called my own restaurant one time to order some food recently.
Okay.
It was late. It was like midnight. We were open till 2 a.m. And the person who ever answered, I don't know who was. I don't know the employees in all the locations because I'm not there. But they were short and not very nice, but they weren't mean. But there was no desire to serve. Okay, and I was so upset, but I didn't want to like say who I was, that I was the founder and I should, but they had no clue, right? So I was with my wife. We were at a hotel downtown, and I was just so disappointed. So anyways, we hung up, and I said, I got to do something about it. I haven't done anything about it yet. I did mention it to the owner of that location to be aware, but I haven't made a decision on how to go across the board and do that. Like, when you look at companies like Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A is a great example, and I'll just stick with Chick-fil-A. They have incorporated your service speak solutions type philosophy wholeheartedly, and everybody knows it. And because of that, their chicken sandwiches are great. They have great service. I mean, but if you look at their product versus like a Wendy's is delicious as well, but they don't have that customer service, respect, and love that they can feel. You could the vibe you feel,
Yes.
and I think that accounts for at least half of the business. I would say 50% in sales. I would say that, and plus I think because they're Christian as well, it might be a big part of it as well. People like to go to, they like the fact that it's a Christian business, Christian owned business. I think that's a part of it as well. But I think that the service is unreal. And so, what do you have? What have you ever worked with restaurants? And what is your opinion on Chick-fil-A versus like a McDonald's and Burger King type customer service?
Brilliant. Oh, you're a good interviewer. Thanks. Chick-fil-A, immediacy, I think of consistency. So they're closed on Sunday, their prerogative. I wish I was closed on Sunday. I'm not. I have my client halfway around the country, halfway around the world. It's already their Monday. I don't have a choice. I have a choice because I love the customer, so I wouldn't walk away. So to me, Chick-fil-A, this is not an endorsement to their product necessarily, but is all about consistency. When you go there, you don't even you don't even open the box. I see people at McDonald's opening the box to make sure that, 2 all beef patty, special sauce, and a sesame seed. You want, but at Chick-fil-A, there's a big trust factor. And yes, I've analyzed this. Is it the house of worship? Is it, why is it a walk-on part? But it is so consistent. And I feel like there's 20 people working there. They have exceptionally indulged in their workforce. And they have really gotten down the script so that if I were to ask anybody down the line, they would deliver that same. It wasn't like 11 at night to your gentleman who answered you. A lot of us work so hard in hospitality. Is it that 8th day? Are we pushing the 9th day? We don't know what they're doing there. They're just trying. They're hanging on. People do not choose to deliver poor service. They're responding to something else. Their shoes are ill-fitting. When I was a concierge, I would change my shoes at least twice or 3 times standing up. That's a tip. Why? Because your body gets used to certain positions when you're standing and you're giving service. So if I get to change my shoes 3 hours, 3 hours in, I have something to look forward to that's different. I know that's odd. And so your question, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's down the line, and I'm a mom and pop sandwich buyer. I'm partially vegan, although my friends say you can't be, Steph. It's like pregnant. You either are a vegan or not. Okay, I'm plant oriented because I love pizza. So I decided not to live without cheese. I'm working on it. I'm sure your cheese is the best.
You don't have to be, you don't have to give up everything. If the majority of it's plant and once in a while you indulge, what's wrong with that?
That is. And so I've learned a lot through how companies respond to certain questions. And I'll walk in and I'll just be, Miss Guest, and I'll walk in and approach people. And I've done that countless, because we survey back at the house, we survey the participants. If I have 100 people, even in the Zoom room, I will take the time and effort complimentary to my client, and I will survey about to them, what is the most important thing when you're measuring customer service? When you, as a guest, John, are filling out a survey, what's the most important thing that you want to communicate? For me, Twitter's not long enough. It's open-ended. You need to give people an option. Although I'm a Twitter fan, but my point is people who are responding in social media might say things differently than they would behind the scenes. So we need to ask our team members, where are you in the cycle of your work life? Are you at the end or the beginning? For me, the kiss is the best, the first and the last kiss. How do we get, though, the consistency in between? How do we get people to understand that it's the continuum of service? We always make a great impression. Welcome. And then what? It's like I'm in the back 50 here going, I'm dreaming like I've eaten a restaurant in a while. If I do, John, it's going to be at one of yours. And the opportunity, it sounds good. When we go as a family somewhere and on the way out, they say, how was it? Doesn't sit, how was it? You weren't with me. It's too late. I appreciate you asking, and I'll be nice and respond. But what about the in-between? There's the metaphysical phrase of the living the dash, our birth date and our end date. And what do we do in between? And that's where I live with my customers. So, what about the in between?
So what do you,
please?
So when you go, let's say you're working with and majority of my newsletters that we email out the email newsletter is for restaurants specifically. Okay. We service most of the pizzerias across the nation. That's why I'm going to hone in on this particular part. Because that's the industry that I'm most interested in, and so are the people we work with, and so it's all about hospitality. How many times have you walked into a pizza place or a restaurant and you got terrible service? The other day I walked into this pizza place over here, not too far from where my office is, and there was a woman behind the counter. Can I help you? And I said, yeah. Can I get a chicken salad, a Greek salad with chicken breast? She's $7.77. No, like desire to even like smile. Oh. I was livid. I was so mad. I even did something that was terrible. Like I got done eating, and I said, can I get some more blue cheese, please? She goes, 50 cents. She didn't say, please. Yeah, no problem. Here you go, 50 cents. I gave her the 50 cents. You had to use a credit card. I didn't have any cash on me. I sat down, and when I finished eating, I didn't clean up my table. That was my passive aggressive way of getting back at her. So I got up and I left. I was so mad. She almost ruined my salad because I was so upset. But then I was like, my God, I'm in this business. Who knows what her situation is? Maybe bad management. Maybe she has a problem at home. There's so many things, right? So I kind of felt bad after I did that, but I did do that. I'm guilty of that.
John, I'm shocked.
How do you undo that? How do you train somebody like that? No. Obviously, it has zero service.
So if we didn't learn anything this last year, I love field trips. I think if you let people tell me, if we decided to meet there and I had the same experience of $7.70, and I would say, I just want to say, and this is because you and I are in the business, but not everybody's going to think about how that is going to measure out. They're not even going to think about it, but it did affect. If someone said, how is that place? They say, well, the pizza's good. Yeah, but what is the experience like? They're going to have a second thought. By field trip, taking people, labor force, teams, employee staff, everybody individually, and getting them to feel how they feel when they are being served out of the realm that they're already. Getting them to navigate through Zoom, and we do this technique all the time. We get them to shop online. What about that experience? It was the same price, or maybe it was even a little bit more, but you went for that one. Tell me why. To really lift under the hood and to ask people who we work with, what matters to you? And you obviously have a choice to go back there, but getting as team and developing teams like we do, we go on field trips. We go to Tiffany, where some people would be afraid to walk in because they would be nervous, like Pretty Woman, that they would have to buy something. It's more like, wait a minute, how did you feel? And we'll have a parking lot conversation. And again, in the Zoom room, it's almost easier because now we can go halfway around the world and feel what it's like to be greeted by a Maharaja in Jaipur. We have more flexibility now than we ever did. But in the pretend world or in the real world, getting to the core and finding out what stirs their creative imagination. I'm not into script writing because people freak out. Your team is unlikely to develop a script mentality. If they have to memorize, mushroom, anchovy, pineapple, maybe you're not big on pineapple. I know it's a big question mark.
I'm a huge lover of pineapple.
All right, now I know what we're gonna have. It's on the fence, right? That's subjectivity. And to get people to not memorize, to be authentic to who they are is so much more important than that formulaic howdy doody, put Vaseline on your teeth and always smiling. That's not going to happen anymore. The opportunity to be genuine, again, my millennium friends are not having it. They want to be real. They want to walk in that same shoe with those individuals and hang out with people. That's why, it's all about the device. Where are you guys? I try not to say guys, but I know we're in Chicago, so I will. Where are you guys? And, we're over here now. Okay, well, we'll just cancel the other place. And then they all rush to somewhere else where they know that hive mentality where they're all want to be. So when they get there, what do? They tell everybody that Lindsay, the server, is the best thing going. And Lindsay's now in the Snapchat room. So what did they do? They just multiplied. The multiplier effect of customer service cannot be overlooked because it is just keeps stacking up and going.
Stephanie, I wonder, I guess some of the struggles that my clients go through and my franchisees go through and my corporate locations is that most of the employees who work in restaurants in the front of the house, generally it's either a side job or they don't really or they're not necessarily happy to be working in that industry. They're like trying to get somewhere else.
Sure.
And so it's hard for them to be happy sometimes. They don't feel like they think it's below them sometimes. So it's like an internal struggle that they have. And I think it shows. And with sometimes people, when you're hungry, you can become hangry, angry. I know I'm guilty of it. And so I don't know. I feel like it's hard to get these. I don't know how they do it, Chick-fil-A. I have no idea. But nobody else, because if you go to anybody else, it's very difficult to have that consistently. They have figured it out, but very few people have, very few companies have. What is your strategy to help industries? Like if you were hired by Wendy's, what would you do? What would you actually like, not like theory, but like like what would you actually do to get them to change?
So to actually be in that moment, and incidentally, shift work is not an exclusive in hospitality, right? There are industries that we're now very mindful of, caregiving and other businesses that have the shift, the punch in, punch out mentality, not mentality, pardon me, the practice of understanding when you arrive at your job, that's when you're working. I think our country could learn a lot from Switzerland, let's say, or other nations that value service as a high profile position. If you're a server at the St. Moritz, you are king. You are running the ship.
Really?
Oppositely, and that's a profession that they might be in theater on the weekends or vice versa. But when I was part of the opening team of the Swiss Hotel here in Chicago in August 1st, 1988, it was one of my first post-college jobs. You can do the math, it's big. And the opportunity, the calculator might be smoking, but the opportunity to flip it, because it's interesting now, those nations who favor service as a high noble profession, which it is, they all want now what we have. And I've been watching this sort of cross-continental migration of, what if we had the best of both? What if we treated and honored service workers such as what we are? The lawn signs now that say, love a caregiver. Oh, I've been taking pictures, and they're creative and they're handmade with crayons and Sharpies. And I want to just bottle all this up because I think we're finally understanding. So, smart to the general manager, if the consumers are now valuing the workers, I think we need to put a badge on it. The service worker for UPS is now getting a 25-year badge embroidered. You got to bet that when my UPS gal comes up, she shows me her 25-year badge, hand-stitched, embroidered. You got to know, when that was put on her uniform, that was a big, big day. So I made a big deal of it from my house. Gotcha. I handed her a trophy. A little corny, I know. But you know what? I think when we see there's reciprocity, I can't do my work. And incidentally, I'm a fan of UPS, but I'm also a fan of any courier service. Anybody who can do what they have done for us in the last year, bravo, brava. So how do we get mindful? And in shift work, I think we really have to be mindful that those are the spokespeople, that they are really carrying the energy and the vitality, and guess what? The brand. We spend so much money on taking ads out that look beautiful, the perfect models in the perfect locations, airbrushed, ready to go on the runway. But if my experience doesn't match with what you're advertising, there's the deficiency. There's the opportunity where we get to say, we're going to deliver on brand. I bet the place that you went and spent $7.77 and more for extra blue cheese, my kind of guy. But what if she had said, this blue cheese is on me today? You would have how I'll just ask you. Turn about fair play. How would you feel if she said, blue cheese is on me today?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, she would have just absolutely no problem. Here you go. Sorry, I have to charge you 50 cents. No, I hope you understand. I would have been even more happy to, but she was just mean about the whole situation. The thing is, there was no love at all in that whole process. And she, and that all comes from top down. So if it happens in my own restaurants, it's from the manager or the owner, because they set the expectations and they manage. But yeah, I definitely would have been very ecstatic if she would have just given me the blue cheese. It's not the 50 cents. It's just I didn't have the money. I had to use a credit card. It's just silly. You know what I mean?
Again, right, because in a no cash world that we're in right now because of pandemic, and I think the emotional and the spiritual connection is what service sometimes gets lost by.
Yeah.
The emotional and the spiritual, because it is not valued. I was criticized, and this is very self deprecating here. I got all A pluses on my technical abilities and service and all of these great things that are necessary. And I'll never forget, John, I was crestfallen in human resources. Here's me, I was, in my 40s. I'm like, tell me something I don't know. I love this place. I would do anything for any of our guests. If it's legal and moral, those are the concierge values. If it's legal and moral and kind, we've just added kind in the Lay Clay Door world, the Gold Key Society, which is the grand dame of all concierge worldwide. And I feel like I lost it when I found out that I was spending, get this, too much time describing to our guests about their experience. Really? Too much time. No, I use economy. I do like to tell the story, but I also know when to close because I want to hear what they're responding to. But when you're providing an experience for a guest, may I tell you an empathy story? Is that
I can't wait. Tell me.
This lady guest, I'll never forget, and I can't reveal her name. It was actually a well-known Chicago family. Comes up and she puts this lawn bag of what I think are clothes. So intuition would tell me clothing, okay, check, check. I went through all the mechanics of asking my lady guest about what am I going to do with these clothes for her. I went to the who, it was her husband. I got to the what, okay, 3 suits and a pair of socks. Bingo, I got the mechanics. When it got to the when, she said, his funeral's tomorrow. Wow. Now, I was thinking retirement, bar mitzvah, all these fabulous events in life. So I had to go from transactional to experiential. And I think that's our punchline today. To go from transactional to experiential. We did all the right things. We sent the right flowers. We wrote a check to the charity of their family's choice. It wasn't like she was just satisfied with me, but I caught myself going into the rigors like $7.77. I was more mechanical than I would ever want to be. I put myself on the other side of this big concierge desk, and I thought, what would I want? I've never lost a husband. At that point, I didn't have a husband to lose, so it was easy. But I really wanted to understand what would be helpful to her in this moment. And I think that transactional to just get the job done. So businesses pride themselves on, we serve 1 million per whatever the time frame is. That's our McDonald's model. Great, lovely. But what about happy customers? What about the ability to say, what numerically, if we were to cast a number to that experience? We're creating and curating experiences now that people remember with selfies, and give the frontline team the option and the grace and the experience to give the love that they said that they would give in their interview. And don't wait a whole year to give a job satisfaction report. Have small huddles, do Zooms without judgment. Let people say what they really want to be and really mean it. I've been in lots of managerial situations, and I work with CEOs to upshift their own. I've been hired to coach CEOs, GMs, and C-suite service professionals in all different businesses, park districts and others. I know we're focused on restaurants today, but the common theme I always hear about is trust. I wish my team trusted me. Well, you need to give them more reasons to trust you and get on the side, and working with some of our car company that we worked with. I put on their own slicker. I worked the front line. I felt like Kenny in South Park, this parka they gave me. And I'm out on the front line and I'm asking the hard questions, the windshield wipers. I'm not a car person. I rode a bicycle 100 miles a week for years in the city. I clocked it one time. That's how many miles I rode on a bicycle. So now I've got this car. I know, like, new to the suburbs, I'm driving now a car. So I went through the line myself. I had a different brand of car than my client, but they let me go through the whole rigors of what it would be like to be a guest. And I learned so much. And then I turned to the car dealership owner whose name is on the big sign out in front. And I said, when was the last time you drove through the line? When the never question, when the question response was never, I thought, all right, let's do it. Let's see how you feel going through your line. He did.
Good.
It worked out. And you never know until you ask. And I know I pushed the envelope, but when people hire me to change things for them, they have to be ready. They have to be honestly ready for response and accept the truth and trust someone who has a different perch and an eye view. And again, a lot of companies spend a lot of money on advertising, which is lovely, healthy, a lot of friends and ad sales, don't want that to go away, but they need to back the brand with what that visual looks like.
Stephanie, let's say a company hired you as an ongoing service. Do you do training for all new employees that get hired to the company? Like, do they through Zoom?
I do. And well, if you're asking me, am I part of the hiring process?
No, they'll do the hiring and then they pass. They say you have to do a 3-hour one-on-one service course with Stephanie, or you have to watch these videos and then have an interview with Stephanie to really get the brand culture, like
Sure.
definitely impressed into their mindset, so that when they do start on the clock, that they know what we stand for, like 100%. Like it can't be a wishy-washy approach. It has to be wholehearted.
Yes, that's exactly. Well, I'm going to bring you on my next client conversation. That's precisely why I started this company, because individuals themselves want to deliver good service. It's sometimes the company that blocks our abilities to do that because there's too much paperwork and other things that, wearing a polyester uniform, which I did for years, is fine.
Why? Wait, hold on.
Never complained.
Why would you? What do you mean you wear a polyester uniform?
Don't get too close to the fireplace. I was wearing a uniform as a concierge, and it was a high poly blend. And I wanted to be so much of myself, but I respected, obviously, the hotels or anybody I worked for. Sure. I've consulted for 7-Eleven. And they're in their shirts, the embroidered shirts, and I'm all in. And working with franchise owners from 7-Eleven is book worthy. I mean, I'm sure I signed something where I'm not going to be able to speak of the service training itself, but I was reminded. Pardon me?
I was going to ask a million questions right now about
that. You can. There's something.
No, go ahead. So you went in there, you got in on uniform, and you started working with them as if you were one of them. And,
yes.
And did you help change the culture of those franchises?
And I've been rehired a handful of times. So I always ask, my parents always ask me, and I love them so much. They'll say, how did you do? Well, I always say, I'll send you an email. I always want somebody else to speak of the work. I can tell you how I feel about it. And then that's very valuable. And when I do feel really positive, then you've sunk in. And so yes, so after groups have been hired, and to the degree that I can be part of the welcome and the onboarding, that's the official training word, the learning and development phase. I serve on the board of the Association for Talent development for over 10 years. And we are in all different industries, in retail and insurance. And the common denominator there is always, again, understanding who we are trying to teach. What is the learning and development? It's called level setting. It's not a big academic term, but it's just meet people exactly in their moment for what they need right now to flourish. How do they become and stay the same person that we hired? What happened after that first day? And do more check-ins. I do want to go back though, because by the time some team members are hired, it might be too late. I've had customers to call Service Speaks and approach, or they'll hear us speak, and I say us. Right now it's me, myself, and I do bring in professionals that round out our training. The diversity, equity, and inclusion piece right now is obviously very big. I don't look very diverse in some populations. My mind is very diverse. How I view the world is, but I'm complemented by someone who is of a different culture, different ethnicity. But if we have a chance to be part of the hiring and we model the next wave of hires to be part of the service mantra, the culture, then it's much more efficient. My best and worst day is when I get a GM call saying, we just hired this new batch of people. I'm like, batch of people? It's flock of seagulls, right? What people, herds have been coming. And I ask them, why did you hire this particular person? And they'll say, well, their grade point average at college. It's a good start, but tell me more. And they're not able to finish that sentence. So if we are part of the, I don't mean to be hiring, I'm happy to interview anybody, and I've done that for clients. They've actually said, we're choosing between two customers. Will you talk to them and will you be part of the dialogue with HR? Absolutely, it's very valuable.
Wow.
But to wait until people are hired and then to go fix them isn't very cost effective.
No, that doesn't make sense after you say it like that. But I guess hiring good people that you feel are good, have the service ability, and then passing them on to a training, like a 2-hour training seminar that emphasizes specifically to my brand or that company's brand, what they're trying to portray. And I like to compare everything to Chick-fil-A, right? You take Chick-fil-A's ideas and you just implement them into your own structure, your own beliefs, customized to your brand, and just try and get every employee, the whole my pleasure, that thing gives me a tickle in my heart every time I hear somebody says, when someone says, yeah, would you mind giving me this? And they say, my pleasure. That to me is like, I already have a love for that brand, even if I haven't tried what they are even offering yet. So I know it works because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. And when I get nice emails from you, you're the best emails I've ever gotten from anybody in my life. No, I'm serious. Like, I didn't even know who you were, right? But how cheery you were in your emails. And I canceled our first podcast. Something happened at home. And you were going to wish me happy birthday and said you were going to sing to me, but it's okay. And then I was just like, oh my God, who is this lady? You know what I'm saying? It was really nice. I know I mentioned it already, but it's very important. And I try and tell my girls who work with me over here that these women are salespeople and project coordinators in the marketing company, always direct mail.com. I tell them when you're sending out emails, make sure you speak in a voice that is cheery and fun, and put smiley face emojis, and make sure that it's totally fun and real and thought out. Don't treat it like a text message. Treat it like you're talking on the phone with them. I say that to them, and they do that. But nothing compares to what your emails. I mean, they were short emails. They weren't really long emails. But my point is, you did something, and if you can train other people to do that, it's huge, huge.
So, well, thank you, because that is a signature, and it is something that I spend time. I've got a formula down. I carve out each one, but I do take the time to read it back to myself aloud. And I there are best practices in anything, and there are a few catchphrases that I know are authentic to my brand. And if I'm doing that, and I'll try to stylize in our fresh mint and mustard color. Fresh mint, because our new logo is fresh mint is everywhere. And it's easy, and people love mint, right? In tea and all kinds of things. And mustard is the ground. Mustard, the mustard seed has meaning for people. And to be of this earth is really, my birthday's on Earth Day, and I take climate change very seriously and where we are. So the opportunity to brand through my own message, if I am not putting the best message out for my company, who is?
Nobody.
If I don't inspire people, other than you, John, other than, I could pay a lot of people to do skywriting over, well, whatever your choice is, whatever ball club you enjoy the most. And if I could do skywriting, great. But then there goes the message. It's off the horizon. What is the most important thing to people right now? And that is why, may I tell you a little bit about this fabulous thing that's floating over my head?
I wanted to ask you about that the whole time.
All right, I'm going to pull off can I take my background off for a second?
Please do.
And just go neutral? Okay, welcome to the Zoom room. So this is
the Zoom room.
This is a little bit about, this is it. So, well, this is a fabulous 3-dimensional, made in the USA. It's recyclable. And I decided, pop off the kickstand, to give everybody a chance and a toy. So, that's for you, delight. These are the 7 elements of the customer experience. And I feel like if you put something in someone's hand, that they'll be able to use it. Now, it wasn't enough to do something small. There's delight, empathy, deliver. So when you see somebody's email and you like it, make a hard copy, frame it for them and send it to them. Make sure that they know that you're appreciating their work, whether it's a colleague or a friend. And so being a champion, it wasn't enough to make this smaller version made in a maker lab in Western Springs, One Blue Pearl. I love what they do. But I had to go big. This is bigger than me. This is like a basketball, like a globe. And so now we use this to demonstrate, that's intuition. And now we use this and we get people to make their own inside of our sessions, because you asked, what do we do inside the sessions? I just wanted to describe that more directly, because let's face it, when you're investing in training and professional development, you want people to know, what are they getting? They have me for life. I have never really, I'm still very good friends with my prom date. It's like no one says goodbye. I know, he's amazing. And my husband approves. So it's all good.
Good.
And vice versa. They're actually very good friends. So, and at any rate, in the Zoom room, I mean, I like to be playful and get people to really understand what it's like to be a consultant, because it can be very lonely. Like, it's just me. It's my show. I'm the mechanics. I do hire producers for our thematic training events. I have one coming up around the world in a faraway country in a totally different time zone. And my expectations are high. It's someone that tracked me down from 10 years ago. Isn't that wonderful when people do?
It really is beautiful. I've considered going into consulting myself, honestly. I have the podcast. I have restaurants. I've opened over 10 restaurants. I have the marketing company, and I've built businesses for the last 20 years. And people have told me you should go into consulting. I don't know the first thing about what I would do, because I just tell them consulting is a very it's a strange business sometimes, because you're giving ideas, but it's so needed. Sometimes people they cannot see their own problems, even if it's right in front of them, because they have what do you call that, tunnel vision. So you just go in there and you look around. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe you own this business. And you've never ordered a pizza from your own place, actually gone through the delivery process.
Mhm.
How often do you
It-
go across that? Where they haven't even used their own product in the same way customers do. You just mentioned it earlier, didn't you?
I did. And I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to ask that next time we speak that you're going to know all the new hires because you're so busy. They want to know you. They want to know you. I made a big deal when I worked for Omni Hotels. We had Let Us Entertain You. It was a very big deal to have
It
Rich
is.
Melman come through
Yes.
and to greet him in the pump room. I mean, I really regard him as, old world loyalty, excuse me, royalty,
Yeah.
because
He's kind of a big shot around us.
he is, and
Yeah.
he's helped a lot of people. So in their consulting arm, I can appreciate this for them, is that instead of going in and telling people what to do, I'm very cautionary when I'm helping coach other consultants or speak to other consultants, women-owned businesses. I've spoken to a lot of people. They want to know more about how I met my husband on Match.com than they do, which is true. I know I was so busy, I had to stop the music and actually ask for the order. Like, where is this person I want to spend my time with? And I got very lucky.
Good for you.
But
That's a blessing.
I also, it is. And you need partners. And Jeff is in the home care field. I used to say he's in home care and people say, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. He's the president of his Bright Star Care Agency. For another time. He'd be a lovely interviewer, but we're here now. And so again, opportunities for consulting. Everybody needs answers. Everybody wants the truth. Whether they do something with the truth, that's the hard job. As a consultant, I will go back again in the spirit of never saying goodbye to anybody. I will go back to my clients and I'll say, so where's so-and-so? Well, you didn't think that they were a good fit for our service culture. So where is she? Well, she's the vice president of human resources. I'm thinking,
oh my gosh.
Well, no, okay, no, we actually made the grade. We actually got this person to shift. It wasn't OMG, what is that person still doing there? They really sunk in to the spirit of customer experience. And when you take something like that wholeheartedly, again, mission statements, love it. Corporate vision statements, all right. But we handcraft a service statement. I made that up. It didn't take me an MBA to figure that one out. Crafting and getting people to write a mission statement is easy. Well, it takes a lot. Focus groups, vision statements. I should say it's not easy to write, but it's easy to think about. But really sinking in, how do we deliver service? Well, I do not do the writing. I facilitate. We get out a lot of flip charts, a lot of whiteboards where we say, what about, tell me a time where you used, let's go with empathy, really used empathy. No judgment in the room. And then all of a sudden Kleenex boxes are coming out because they forgot how touched that customer was. Really? Or that they didn't realize that it was that customer's last year on earth, or they didn't realize. Again, if we didn't learn anything this last year, it was the value of time and experience and being one with each other. I've really studied this year, and it's been, instead of doing Netflix, baking and puzzles, I've been really busy. Really busy time.
That's good.
And yourself as well.
Yes, I found that I'm a better person and more happier when I'm overwhelmed with work and family. I don't do well with boredom, so I've had no choice but to stay busy, and Stephanie, I'd like to say, I think I learned a lot from you today. I have so many, customer service. It sounds so easy, but it is so darn hard. It is so darn hard. I mean, and this is what you do. You help get companies from the ground up change their beliefs on what's possible with regards to customer service. And it pays to be great at this because if just by changing a few words, a few smiles, a few things, the revenue stream is just, it's hard to quantify, I'm sure, but you could just do annual year over year sales, I'm assuming, or month over month sales. And I guarantee you it's a double digit return on the investment almost every time if it is implemented for consistently, right? Would you agree with that?
If it is, and if it's measured. If it's
How do you measure it though? I mean, besides annual sales, is there a different way?
Oh, you ask your customers. We could all day long sit in the boardroom saying, this has been a great year, everybody. But is it? And is it big enough? Hotels are the hardest business pre-pandemic. If a hotel is not running 100% every night of the year, there's lost revenue. So as hotel owners, even though Chicago has a healthy 75% occupancy year round, because January, February, March, except for the ice skaters in the room and people that are willing to come within a 6-state region, there's not a lot. Again, pre and post pandemic here.
Yeah.
75, if I were to give you a 75% on your business, how would you feel? Nah, it's an average, right?
Yeah.
In the academic world, it's an average, but no, we have to accept the guests for who they are and how they're coming to us in small groups. I used to stand in front of general manager giving a speech actually at a very young age. And I remember asking them, you have an extra ballroom here. We could be using that room. Well, what would we using it for? No one rented it today. I can think of a lot of nonprofits that would love to have a boardroom available for just a day, what they could do with that space in one day. Or even for-profits. I'm not suggesting give things away, not at all. I'm a businesswoman. But the second part is anytime you leave it out there, it comes back in droves. And in the hotel business, we were so energized by group business. We forgot about Ms. Traveling Briefcase who's coming across. So some companies, name left out, and I know we're against the clock. I'm not going anywhere. I'm all yours. But they forgot about the woman traveler. One company stepped forward. They decided to look at cosmetics and things that mattered to the executive woman. And they were really smart because they asked really good questions. And I applaud asking the customer, what's the value proposition? That's not what you say to your customer, right?
No.
But understanding what is the value of engaging in this business? Why should I come to you when there's so many more? There's a lot of guest speakers out there. I know. But I'm very lucky when people revere service and service excellence through experiential, subjective, which it is, and personal. Experiential, subjective, and personal. And that's a triangle that we teach all day long because it's how we feel about what we're receiving in the end.
I appreciate that, Stephanie. Do you have a book coming out? Did you tell me that?
I do.
Tell me about it.
You're so great to know. So I'm turning a certain decade in very soon.
40, right? Oh, no, you said you were 40, 50.
Just the best. Mwah. So I wrote out 6 goals, 1 per decade. Hey, I'm going for 100. So this is easy. This is like, honestly, we're right around the corner. And as long as I can ride a bicycle, then I'm in. And the opportunity to write down 6 goals. And I really was very studious about this. It wasn't a fly-by-night opportunity, but I've been asked to write a book. I've been egged on, my students. I have 750 students in the world. I counted one day, and I know where at least 500 of them are, thanks to social media.
That's cool.
And to give them, I think so. I love the next generation. I really do. I'm very hopeful about decisions and the way they will take care of the earth and us as people. And so through this all, it emerged that I would write the book. And it's everything. People say, well, what's it about? What's the title? And I wish I could tell you I'd reveal the title today, because that would be fun. We're so very close, though. It will be done by Earth Day, April 22nd. That's what I can tell you.
Not too
And
far
it will,
away.
pardon me?
Not too far away.
Not too far away. And it will completely center on the customer experience with some fun anecdotes. And I could never do a tell-all. I swore that I would never tell Nicole Kidman's request for thread count. I mean, who cares? That's for a magazine, a certain magazine, to reveal those details. It's not that interesting in the end to me.
Yeah.
But at the core is getting to what is universal in the customer experience, no matter which industry, no matter where in the globe, it's the human experience.
I love it. I love it. And Stephanie, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your wisdom and your experience. Please let us know when this goes live. I'll send you the email, but also when your book goes live and you know what it is, it's going to be on Audible, I'm assuming.
Part and parcel. We aim to please.
Yeah.
At your service.
A lot of people these days don't get, they just get more volume through Audible, because you can put it on 1.25 or 1.5 and pump through a book way faster than you could read it. So, okay, well, let us know about that. I'll promote it on my channel and do whatever I can to help you.
Thank you. Lovely.
Yeah, very much. Stephanie, it's been a pleasure. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope we stay in touch. Definitely.
We shall, because I know when your birthday is, and that never leaves.
Absolutely. And now I know when yours is Earth Day. All right. Take care, Stephanie.
John, my absolute pleasure. This has been divine.
Mine as well. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.